Ladies and gentlemen, for 3 months, the Competitive Speed Series has been racing for Season 4. We began on the 8th of August. Well, this tier began on the 12th of August, but now the entire, all platforms end tonight, and it ends on the 4th of November with the Xbox tier that we have racing tonight. And, well, let's dive straight into it, shall we? And we'll first talk about the standings. Novus Racing are 404 points. Bunga Racing Team in second, 368. Now remember, the point system is slightly different to what you would regularly have. I think it's 35 points for a win. So if both the Bunga Racing Team drivers pull it out of the bag tonight, then they'll take the victory. If something goes wrong for Novus Racing, we'll keep tabs on that. But yeah, the calendar, the season comes to an end here in Japan, and I'd say it's a pretty good circuit to finish off a season. Think of Suzuka 1989, Suzuka 1991. We saw Senna and Prost come together. We hope that doesn't happen for our title rivals tonight. But well, wouldn't be too opposed if it does. We'll dive straight into it because I was an idiot and forgot to go live on the account. Don't know what I just streamed on. I streamed on something. But we go straight into the action. And you can see that times are already being thrown in. Gabor currently top of the timesheets, 127.077. VK across the line in the Alpine. He will get a 127.668. That will slot him into 5th position. Sam invalidated. Liam Hardman also invalidated. Medal is coming round. Ollie Hornby is coming to the pits. Medal is going to be the next car to set a time. Allegedly, it's a purple sector. We know that that's not quite true, based on the game in general. But yeah, we'll see as he comes around the final corner. What sort of time is he going to be able to put in? It's not a very competitive one. It's 128.328 is the time that he is going to set. Who's going to be the next across the line? Son Pika is in sector 1. Dettel is in the final sector for TTM. He'll be the first TTM driver to set a time. And, well, he's going to come around and out of the final chicane now. I believe Suzuka 1989, they had an incident at that final corner where they went straight on. It was one of the two. And Dettel has no such issues. He goes up into 3rd place with a 127.338. Liam Hardman has invalidated. Partick is in the first sector. First sector? Yeah, first sector. I thought so. I won't doubt my judgment next time. Don't know why I said it like that. But he's the only driver on a valid lap as of currently. So we'll watch on board with the Haas driver as he heads now around turn number 13 and turn number 14. You sort of have to take one as a result of the other one. If you have a poor exit into 13, that can impact your exit out of 14, and vice versa. If you have a decent entry, you're likely to have a decent exit. Partick now coming up to the final couple of corners. The little segment that he gets through pretty smoothly, and then putting the power down on the exit. The ERS will open up. The DRS will open up just there, and Partick 128.6. So bottom of the pack by 3/10. Finbob now watching on with the Sauber driver. I will try to keep tabs on everything as we go through this race, and I'll try and keep tabs of the teams especially. That'll be something that I will probably struggle to keep on top of, but I'll do my very best. I always will do for you lot. But the way that things are at the moment is that it's the McLarens, Gabor and Quantum. Gabor currently on pole position by 2/10. Quantum yet to set a time. They're the ones on top today, and then you've got BRT with, well, Finbob and Thomas, actually. Thomas in 5th place, Finbob in 18th. And he comes across with a pretty decent second sector time, 1:10.6. And now the final corner beckons for Finbob. It's a final chicane, more than a final corner, and he comes out of it pretty successfully, pretty smoothly, and managing to avoid the pit wall. And he lines himself up on the front row with a 1:27.166. But he's immediately been displaced by TTM driver Allison. Goes on to the front row. Quantum will not be setting a time for NVR just yet. But Allison throwing in a time there that all the drivers will be desperate to compete with. Because that is really... 1:26 should be a minimum for around the top 5 drivers, where they're looking to be. TTM not quite in the same battle. They find themselves 2 points behind Shazoo for 3rd place. And so it's a little bit... There's a little bit of competition. FRT could get themselves in there if they have an incredible weekend. They find themselves... If trying to do the mental math, 23 points behind Shazoo, 21 points behind TTM. So it's possible as Josh goes in. And the 2 XPG drivers are the last ones. Well, among even the last ones. Set a time as Ollie Hornby retires from the session. Trying to enter the pits. Did it wrong. And now his wheel has a mind of its own. Anyway, the driver going past him was a Red Bull. Who's come across to set a time, either Ogween or Bobberts for Shazoo. I know it says ESV. Trust me, Bobberts is racing for Shazoo tonight. As I just try and get rid of all of the pings from my Discord. Because, well, I'm having I've got a... We'll call them a producer for this evening. Telling me what's going right, what's going wrong. With the stream, everything along those lines. But yeah, anyway, big thanks to Ace for doing that. I know that the last time I did it, I had quite a few issues, so we're feeling it out as we go. But yeah, we've got Sam coming round now, the final corner. As if you want to, you can vote in the poll that was put out 4 minutes ago. There's been 6 votes. Who's going to win the championship, NVR or BRT? At the moment, NVR is winning quite significantly. So if you think Bunga Racing Team will be able to pull something out of the bag, then please put your votes in. We've got 6 votes. 83% have said... 83% have said that Nova's going to win. That includes myself. 17% have said that Bunga Racing Team will be able to pull it out of the bag. And the way that this league has gone, the way that pretty much any league goes, really, you come to expect anything. You could have somebody pull out an absolutely ridiculous time, an absolutely ridiculous anything, really. Allison, with the most ridiculous thing so far that we've seen so far this evening. 1:26.9 was the time that he set. Medal improving by 0.8. He moves up into P7, sorry. But he didn't have a great first lap, so he'll be looking to improve. Sonpika hasn't got a lap at all, nor is Quantum. And he is in Sector 1. Sonpika is in Sector number 2. Little bit of a sway now as we've had 3 more votes towards Bunga Racing Team. 22%. Still quite a significant margin that Novus have over them, with 78% saying that they're going to win. But we'll keep tabs on that as we go through, and it's love to see you get involved, having your say on what you think is going to happen tonight. Sonpika, he's going to come around the final corner, set his first time. It will be the slowest of them all with a 1:28.681, and the AMS support in the chat, which is always strong, won't be very happy with the fact that their 2 drivers are the 2 slowest with the times they've set so far. Quantum is going to... This is going to be a quick lap. 1:10.5 in the first 2 sectors out of the final corner. Riding the curb a lot more than we've seen from most, but that could pay off, and it will pay off as he takes himself onto the front row. 1:27.063, beating his teammate out by just a tenth. Not even a tenth, a hundredth even of a second. And yeah, the times are starting to come down now, including for Partick, who is going to improve, beating out Flame by 1,000th of a second into 15th place. AMS will not begin on the front row. That is, or the back row. That is because Ollie Hornby decided to miss the pit lane and throw himself into the wall, which is not... He won't be the only driver to do that tonight. I'm almost certain of it. Gabor now. He is 700ths. He's improving by 700ths on his previous time, and that is in the first sector alone. If he can find any more improvements, then he will find himself on the front row, because at the moment, if he completely matches the rest of this lap, he'll be setting a 127.099, but we know that it'll sway up or down. There's no way that he's setting an exact same lap as Finn. Bob goes up to the top of the timesheets. Bunga Racing Team have laid down their mantle, and it's Finn Bob with a 126.943. Gabor now looking to respond, and he's responding by, well, he's not improved in the second sector as the pole completes. 81% have said Nevio, not Nevio. 81% have said Novus. They're going to win. 18% are backing Bunga. But Gabor around the final corner, 126.995, the third driver to get into the 26s, and it's the slowest of the group so far. Josh is not improving. Agonized out of the final corner. He's improving by 0.3. He's up into 9th, 1,000th behind Bobbert. It's incredibly close. Incredibly close. And so stick around, because this is going to be intriguing. And the latest poll is who takes P3 in the championship. As I mentioned, Shazoo 2 points ahead of TTM, and then 23 points ahead of FRT, which holds bigger weight in a championship where you've got more points on offer for each individual position. 35, as I say, being for a race victory. Liam Hardman, the final driver, apart from his teammate, to set a time, and he goes into 8th place. Detol now is improving, 0.22 seconds. Is what he's improving by. His teammate is currently on the front row on 26.968. And Dettel is looking to match that, but he won't match it if he has an exit like that out of turn number 14. He's going to come across the second sector split time, though, with a decent time, 110.6. And he's only got one corner to go. He's got traffic to contend with. That was a Sauber getting out of the way. Dettel out of the final corner, coming into the pits, because he didn't think that lap was good enough. But there we indeed go. I will have my say in the poll as well. I'm going to say that TTM, who currently, I was going to say are currently joint leaders, they are now currently, no, they're still joint leaders with FRT for that. So Shazoo really not having the support of the voters, even though they have actually, on stats at least, like mathematically, they have the lead in that battle, but Ogween and Bobbert's 5th and 9th are not backed, especially ahead against TTM, who currently have 2nd and 7th, or FRT, who currently have 13th and 10th. So a bit harsh then on Shazoo. But that's your opinion. That's your thoughts. And continue to keep them coming. Medal now out of turn number 13, turn number 14. And he will come up to the second sector split time, and we will get a knowledge really of how this lap has gone. There's 5/10, by the way, splitting him and, well, 5.5 tenths splitting him and pole position. Medal is only improving by 300ths, which still puts him in the fight for probably around P8, P9 if he's able to hook up this final sector correctly. Diving a little bit too late into the final chicane, and then a big wobble out of the final corner means that Medal will be coming across the line to not improve upon his time. Sam is across the line to start his lap. Allison has improved as VK decides that he's not going to do any more. Oh my goodness me, that qualifying session has flown by because we've only got 30 seconds left on the clock. I was barely watching it as Dettel and Liam Hardman have retired as well. I'm sure we'll be seeing Medal retiring in the coming seconds because, well, I don't think he's going to make it round to set his time. Son Pika is guaranteed on the back row of the grid with Ollie Hornby. 128.681 is the best that he can do, 5/10 slower than XPG Flame in 17th place. Allison, he improved a lot in that first sector, 2/10, but then he lost a 10.5 in that second sector, and he's looking to gain it all back, almost cutting that corner on the way into the chicane, but out of it. Allison is keeping it together, and it's on the front row and on pole position for Allison. 126.834 for the TTM driver. That sees him take pole position. Quantum is not going to be improving. Ogween is still back in sector number 2. Thomas has finished his session. He will not be improving. Bobberts as well. Bobberts could improve. Medal's not improving. Sam has invalidated upon his lap. XPG Flame now coming through the second sector, but we're going to switch attention back to one of the Shizou drivers, and it's Bobberts that we're going to watch as he's improving by 0.123 of a second into the final chicane. Coming out of it pretty gentle, not too aggressive as he comes out the final corner. He improves by 2/10 up into 7th place. Goes the Shizou driver. Ogween, the next across the line. He slots himself into 3rd position with a 126.977. Finbob coming up to the second sector split time. And he will not be setting a lap. Partick will not be setting a lap. Flame will not be setting a lap, nor will Gabble. So that is going to be your grid for the finale of the entire CSS season. Race could get interesting. It certainly could, with all the drivers being so close together. The top 5 split by barely anything, as well. Allison going in with that, the quickest of them all by a significant distance, a 10th, which in this is a significant distance. When they're all so close together, you can see Thomas and Bobbert split by 700ths. You can see who else? Medal and Sam split by 8.5 hundredths. But quite a few of the drivers pretty much matching. You saw as well, even though they were at the back, Flame and one of the Haas cars, I think, was split by 1,000th at one point. But that is the Dutch driver. Allison taking pole position, 126.834, over a 10th ahead of Finbob in second. Then it's Ogween, Gabor, Quantum, and then a big 2/10 gap back to Thomas, who's only just ahead of Bobberts. Then it's Dettel, Liam Hardman, and Agonized, who rounds out the top 10. Then it's Willow, Medal, Sam, VK, Josh, Partick, Flame, Son Pika, and then Ollie Hornby, who, well, he crashed into the wall. Let's not dress it up. He just drove himself into the wall. But regardless, let's be nice. It's a positive community that we're festering here, that doesn't take the mickey out of anybody for pelting themselves into the wall. Speaking of pelting themselves into the wall, we get to watch probably the most entertaining, the most entertaining in terms of drama across the entire stream, because they're going to have a little bit of fun now. They're going to crash however they so desire, and that will begin in just a few seconds. Just have a look. It is going to be dry. That mediums is looking like it's going to be the preferred strategy. That's what the AI will have selected, regardless of whether that is what the drivers are actually going to start on. That is what the AI suggests. And yeah, we're going to go to the 5 quote-unquote lights. We've had only 3 jump starters. 5 retiring before turn 1. Both the Ferraris look like they're going to go straight on. Well, XPG Flame did. There goes Thomas. Medal has the lead, as that's a Ferrari going sliding off. That was actually an incredible save from Josh, whether he meant it or not. Sam tried to barrel it into the wall and missed. Quantum, don't know what he's doing. Medal hasn't quite realised that we're not actually racing. Go straight on. There we go. That was very delayed. And Sompika is the last driver to retire from the session. But, yeah, we're all good. But, yeah, the finale is... He was on F1 for 4 hours to then do that in the session. Apparently, Ollie. But, well... If I speak, I am in trouble. So... While we get ready to get going, just a quick word from our sponsors over at Grid Finder. Yeah, you'll see the side of my head now as I've decided that I am going to be mean, and I'm gonna do some. Just you wait. We're gonna get an action replay of Ollie's DNF. How about that? We're apparently gonna get it in about 5 pixels. I'm glad I caught that on the stream, actually. But, yeah, there we go. Right. Just in the meantime, while we're getting ready for the race ahead of us, get your predictions, by the way, in the chat. Because, well, it's going to be close. Who voted FRT? Well, not me. I'll tell you that. Don't know if I told you who I voted for. But I'm not going to tell you now, out of spite. But I could be completely wrong on that. Anyway, back on topic. Here is the moment that Ollie noticed that he screwed up. He was pretty close to missing that, to be fair. I'll give him that. Ah, I didn't switch it. Right, I'll switch it now. That's a very me mistake to make. But yeah, here we go. There we go. Just on board with Josh, and then we switch to the Aston Martin of Ollie, who decides that he's this is a very long clip. There we go. There we go. He should be switching to Ollie now. There we go. There's the good man. Actually looked like he was almost missed it. He almost missed it, to be completely fair to him. But he didn't. So we now have 19 drivers. No, we don't. Yes, we do. We've got 19 drivers ready to take on the Suzuka International Circuit. And in the meantime, let's have a look at said Suzuka International Circuit. So it's a 5.807 kilometre. That translates to 3.608 miles. To those of you who don't know what a kilometre is, that's 18 turns in there as well, but only one DRS zone that leads into the majority of those turns, the S section in sector number 1. Just looking at turn number 13 and 14, they look pretty isolated in relation to the rest of the track. That's because this is the only track on the Formula 1 calendar that has a bridge. Now, you can see it. You can see the crossover point at 130R, which is the bit just after the end of sector 2. It will appear very obviously when the corner numbers turn up, and I can tell you which corner it is. I'm going to go with turn number 15 in indeed it is turn number 15, you can see the crossover between 9 and 10, and then turn number 15 is where the bridge is, and that will be it does create one of the most interesting moments that you can have, where you can hear the cars below you. It feels like a Mario Kart track, but it's not. It's the location of the season finale of, well, competitive speed series. We've had a couple of decent season finales, to be fair, and hopefully this is going to be the one. Just a reminder then of the standings if you just turn up. Novus Racing 404 points ahead of Bunga Racing Team 368. That is the main battle that we're going to keep our eye on. However, we're going to have half an eye on Shazoo, TTM and FRT, who are in contention for that number 3 spot. There's 2 points between Shazoo and TTM, and there is 23 between Shazoo and FRT. But now we've loaded into the lobby, we'll get a little bit of a better idea about the strategies. I've just taken 2 screenshots, so that's probably going to appear at the bottom of my screen at least. I'm so excited. Screenshot failed. Okay, never mind. We have got a very exciting race ahead of us. I'm not going to say which drivers they are, but it looks like we're going to have 2 different strategies. Drivers are either going for the hards or the mediums. There's no softs on offer. I think mainly because this track does just eat up soft tyres. It tends to be the case anyway that they do that, and so it's unlikely that they're going to pick those, because unless there's a safety car right at the very end of the Grand Prix, it makes little sense to do that. But yeah, I mentioned before we've got that title race, but TTM battling for that 3rd position. Allison taking that pole position, which will ultimately aid his team and his own personal assault on the title. But we're going to go to the 5 red lights for the Japanese Grand Prix. It's lights and it's action. We've had a couple of jump starts at the start of this one. Allison having an incredible launch, though, ahead of Finbob in 2nd place. Aquaqueen trying to cling onto the outside line, but Gabor holding the inside line there. Then it's Quantum and Dettel who are side by side just behind. And they've slotted into one. There's yellow flags up. Is it for VK? I'm not sure if it is, but there is chaos going on lower down the grid, as that could be the overtake of the season if he pulls it off down the inside of Liam Hardman. Not quite for VK, but he did get the move done on Sam. Sam is going to try to come back now. And, well, he's going to be unable to, but we are going to come through. There's contact. There's a ghosted Red Bull and Mercedes as well having problems. Medal and Bobberts, I think, having issues, and that's a send from Willow down the inside of Medal. That could see Liam Hardman take the position from the Mercedes as well. Indeed, it does. And Liam Hardman is going to head up the hill. There's a virtual safety car. Partick is having issues. He's missing his entire front wing. And this will give me the perfect opportunity to have a look at the penalties. We have 4 drivers. 4 drivers. Jump start. The first jump start of the season in the finale. And Dettel, Agonized, Willow and Medal. All 4 of them were able. Someone jumped. Well, a few more than someone jumped. But Dettel, Agonized, Willow and Medal all jumping the start. That will not help the TTM's case. It will also help Alice. It will help. Allison doesn't have to worry about that because he is in the lead of the race almost by an entire second as we head on to lap 2 of this Grand Prix. Detol, Agonized, Willow and Medal will have to serve penalties. Partick will have to come into the pits to replace that front wing. But Allison is actually building that gap, so I don't know what's up with Finbob's Delta. It's coming down now, so I think Allison's just trying to get into the head of the Bunga Racing Team driver. Why not? When you're racing for essentially not nothing, because there's prize money on offer. It's the difference between €50 in 3rd place, €25 in 2nd, and 15 for 3rd place. So there's about 35 quid on offer for you. For your team, at least. if you're successful, and Allison at the moment is putting up a good case for TTM. Finbob, though, he's trying to do his best for Bunga Racing Team. They need a lot out of this race, and they need Thomas to fight his way forward. They need him to get past Dettel as soon as they possibly can. With Dettel having that penalty, I'm sure he'll be made to serve it either next lap or the lap after. And, well, that's when he is going to serve it. But, well, we'll see if he does it at the end of this lap. It would make sense, because he doesn't want to get held up too much in traffic anyway. And yeah, there we go. The Dettel peels off into the pits. Agonized as well comes in. So does Willow. Medal also will come in. So all of the drive-through penalties will be served. And the normal racing order is resumed. I don't know what's just happened to my controller. My sincerest apologies for that. It appears that my controller has run out of battery, which happens at least once every single stream. You'd think I'd have better batteries by now, wouldn't you? Or like a USB. But there we go. Allison now has a 1.6 second gap over Finbob. And I believe Josh has just gotten past Sam, or Sam's just gotten past Flame. There was a move down involving Sam at least. And that is for P10, this little battle. Josh taking an escapade off the road. But coming back on, still able to hold that P10. But now I can reveal what tyres everybody is on, and it appears that everybody, apart from Allison, Sonpika, and Willow, chose those hards at the start, which is intriguing. Allison, that explains the gap that he holds at the top of the field, 2.2 seconds, and it is increasing. The aim for TTM will just be to get as far ahead as they possibly can, and then maybe fight back, and then sort it out. Allison's knocking in the fastest lap of the race with a 1:30.6, but Ogween making a move for P2. Gabble's going to get involved as well. Doesn't quite go for that move into turn number 1 on Ogween, but the two NVR drivers, they're getting ready to assault for that P2 spot. They want to make those moves towards Allison. And well, we'll see. We'll see what they're able to achieve. But the gap is coming up, although it's just come back down there, so it's a little bit fluctuating. We'll keep an eye on that because we're only on lap 4. It's early days in this race, and that's why I'm sure they're not too fussed about anything that's really going on at the moment. They don't need much to take that title today, I believe, to confirm it, because they are currently 38 points ahead. They need, so it'll be 65 points for a 1-2. They will need, I should have worked this out before stream, shouldn't I? 28 points. As that is Quantum going for a move on Finbob into 130R. They are side by side. Quantum riding the curbing a little bit. Finbob with the inside line into the chicane, but Quantum with the track position, and he's able to seal it and move up into P4. But I believe they only need 28 points to confirm the title, regardless of what everyone else does, as Gabor moves up into P2. And it will be, well, anything from P2 and P1 is where they could confirm it. But the fact that they've got two drivers there, it's incredibly helpful. Agonized taking the fastest lap of the race, 1:30.5. Means he shaves a 10th off of Allison's best time. But yeah, it shouldn't take much for NVR to confirm their victory today. Gabor currently, they could do it with Gabor alone in P2. But yeah, the two Sauber drivers, the two BRT drivers, will be hoping to stop them, but at the moment it's not looking promising. NVR just need to finish ahead, really, or they need one of their drivers to finish ahead, as that's Ollie Hornby spinning Sonpika. And I don't think I can mince my words much about that. And something else I can't mince my words about is AMS are not having a good day, and that's just made it slightly worse, as Sonpika drops to 14th place, drops to 15th place, as Agonized draws alongside, could draw ahead as he has the inside line into turn number 14. There's contact between the two as Agonize tries to take the correct line into the corner, but he takes the correct position out of it. And I think that was further contact. And that's a safety car. Okay. Wonderful. So AMS currently 19th and have retired. And the other driver has retired from the session. Wonderful. Okay. I'm watching the replay to see if there was any contact. It doesn't look like it. It looks like he's just gone off. But that has allowed quite a few of the drivers to come into the pits. 12th down have all come in. Sam onto mediums. Ollie Hornby onto hards. Is he serving a penalty or fixing front wing? I think he's fixing front wing. Everybody else on... Well, Willow onto hards. Everybody else onto medium compound tyres. But yeah, not a great move from Ollie. And then not a great moment from Sumpika. And I'm expecting the viewership to dramatically decrease now that one of the AMS drivers is out. And it was the one that looked like he was on for a decent afternoon. The other one being Partik, who was like 13 seconds off the field. And yeah, now he's back up into P15 with Agonize, Willow and Medal, all with fresh tyres behind. So I've just gone very close to my mic for no real reason. We'll see if these drivers actually come into the pits. I think Allison, it would make sense. Don't trust my strategy, but it would make sense if the Williams was to dive into the pits. Switch onto the mediums, switch onto the hards even, and then that is going to be the end of the pit. Yeah, it's going to be Allison coming into the pits. Gabor tricks Ogween possibly into going in. So the two NVR drivers will be 1 and 2. Finbob in third. Thomas does come into the pits. Liam Hardman is going to stay out. VK is going to stay out. So 4th and 5th are now operated. Occupied by the Alpine and the Aston Martin. And the Alpine and the Aston Martin, I believe, are... The Aston Martin is TIE, and the Alpine is EVR. So they're in 4th. They're in 5th and 4th respectively, because I thought it was easier to find Liam and Ollie. Arctic is back, so you've got something to... Well, silver lining. But I don't imagine that Partik's very fun to engineer at the moment. Not much to say. Josh has gone on to this softs, interestingly enough. So I think, I don't know whether did he start on the hards? He did. So he might be doing one lap and then switching back onto the hards, which is a much more common strategy than you'd think. I don't really understand it. I don't really get it, but that's what people seem to do. By the way, Allison, the quickest driver so far, he finds himself in 6th place. And the leader, obviously, of the new tyre runners, with the top 5 all being on older hards, not too much older. So I'd imagine they're expecting another safety car, and that's why they've not come in. The 2 NVR drivers, though, committing to one strategy, whereas Bunga Racing Team have split. Yeah, Josh does come into the pits. So does Flame. So the XPG drivers, they've double stacked. Josh has gone back onto the hards. Flame has gone onto new hards. So maybe Flame went for the wrong tyres last time out. That would be a shame if he did, but... But yeah, we've got Gabor and Quantum in the lead of this race for NVR. I don't know what that was supposed to be. That could be a yawn. In the end, that ended up being a yawn. But yeah, we're all good. We're ready to go. I think we'll be getting the green flag depending on when the field catches up. I'm hoping we will at least. And then the grid can get going once again to resume this Japanese Grand Prix that's had a few interesting moments, a few interesting strategies, 4 drive-through penalties, and then a couple of hairy moments, one involving Ollie Hornby, one involving Sompika, which saw Sompika head into the wall and retire from the session, causing this safety car. We also had a virtual safety car earlier on. Something. Safety car is in this lap. And Gabor has the ability to control the pace. Now, contrary to a lot of times that we see safety car restarts, he'll be trying to aid the driver in second because they're both NVR drivers. They both want to build up as much of a gap to Allison as possible. Gabor's taking his time. They will be talking over the comms in the Novus Discord, I would imagine, telling each other when they're going to go. Gabor with a big wobble out of the final corner, which means he's probably going to slow everybody up as they go back to green flag racing. Indeed, he does, and it's side by side, fourth position even between VK and Liam Hardman. Liam backs out of that move. Although, is he going back for it? No, he's not. He just went under a tenth. So I thought he may have gone for a last-ditch effort, but indeed he did not. Gabor continuing to lead this race. Dettel spun it. That was it. And that caused... Yeah. Okay. I know what I'm talking about. Ogween making it past Allison. Indeed he does. That is a ridiculously high-octane move that he was able to pull off there. That would have been... Well, as Thomas looks to get past Allison just behind, he manages to pull off that move. He's on the softer tyre, so I don't think Allison gave up too much of a fight. He could be losing another position here to Bobberts. Ogween and Liam Hardman side by side up ahead. Ogween getting ahead. Bobberts and Allison, though, are side by side. Allison taking the traditional line, and Bobberts just clinging to that inside one as it's the two RBs, the two FRT drivers side by side, just behind as well. It's 2 by 2. It's like Noah's Ark. But they've gone back more into the guard formation. It's Allison who continues to lead this battle. Bobberts in 9th, but he could move up to 8th places. That's a huge drive. There's contact between himself and the Williams driver. But Allison stays ahead, and now Bobberts could be overtaken by Sam as they head down to turn number 1. Sam has the outside line. His teammate is looking to pressure as well. Don't really know who's going to come out on top in this battle. We do know it's not going to be Allison. It's going to be one of the RB cars. It's going to be Sam. And there's contact between Allison and Agonize. Further contact. And Agonize seals P9. So Allison really struggling on that safety car restart. Losing out positions to, yes, those medium runners. But Sam and Agonize have older tyres. Only 1 lap older, but that 1 lap does make a difference. He could lose another position to Bobberts here. Indeed, he does. On that same corner, that an incredible move was made last time round. And he drops to P11. He's no longer the leader of the pitters, as who's that going for a move behind Sam? The 2 FRT drivers have lit up in the last couple of laps. Since that safety car restart, he moves up into P7, does the RB ahead of Liam Hardman, who's the one struggling the most on those hards, as VK as well. He's struggling, but he's not lost the positions to Thomas and Sam like Liam has. And I'm sure that's coming in the next couple of laps, as DRS is available. Almost unavailable for VK as he's dropping back. He's now 9/10 behind that. Could be another move for Agonized. Going into 130 yard, just backing out of it, but he's forced Liam Hardman wide. Liam moves across and defends that move into the final corner. But DRS will be available to all of these drivers as they head now down to turn number 1. Agonized opening it up, opening the rear. Someone else opening the rear up ahead is Ogween, who makes the move up into P3. Gabor and Quantum just they're solid in P1 and P2. And then Thomas and VK. Thomas getting past VK finally. and just about within the DRS. But lap 11 of this Grand Prix, and it looks like NVR's race to lose. They still have to come into the pits, and we will see the effect of the new medium compound of tyre for Ogween versus the older hards. Not quite old yet, but older hards of the two NVR drivers, the two McLaren drivers. And while they can put up a stout defence because it's two of them, so they may be able to. Whether they want to is another question, because they could just let Ogween go. I think that's what Finbob was trying to do. I think that's what VK tried to do. I think that's even what Allison tried to do, as his hards are going to become, well, good later on in the stint. Quantum has let Ogween by, and Ogween will have the slipstream and then the DRS down the main straight on Gabor. And I'm sure he will make that move into turn number 1. I think for now it's just a case for NVR of trying to consolidate, trying not to let Ogween get too far away, because then the Shazoo driver will dominate the pace, he will dominate the strategy, and he will basically be able to run the race how he likes. As Allison climbs back up into P10. In the meantime, Sam sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and Ogween pulls alongside and ahead of Gabor. Thomas as well moving past and ahead of Finbob. So drivers just swapping. Agonized and Bobbits could swap as well. Agonized holds on to P8 at the moment. Ollie Hornby becomes the first driver that didn't get a drive-through to receive a penalty. I'm surprised that Ollie Hornby wasn't one of those. But he comes in. He comes in with a 3-second time penalty. The first non-drive-through penalty of this race. Now, we will switch our attention further up to Sam and Finbob. Bunga Racing Team have the ability here to work their drivers together, just like I mentioned that NVR might do. They actually opted not to in the end because they just wanted to let Ogween by. They wanted to cling to the coattails of the RB. And Sammy's not quite close enough to make that move. Dettel gets past Ollie Hornby, so does Partick. So I think there may have been an issue for the Aston Martin, maybe. But the main thing is that he drops now down to the rear of the field. I don't know what's up with my accents tonight. I might do some of the race in some of my accents is my party trick. So we've got, you might have that ahead of you if you pay attention to some of my commentary. You might get that soon enough. But yeah, the two McLarens are just trying to cling on to the DRS. Ogween fastest lap 1:30.1 on those medium compounded tyre. Yeah, Gabor not even trying to threaten into turn number 1. He will stay there, most likely, as long as he possibly can. And who's that? Willow making a move on Josh into turn number 1 in the meantime. Josh looking for that outside line. He has been forcibly shut off by Willow. And P13 is the Alpine drivers. P13 is the... I still haven't memorised it yet. EVR drivers. As he moves up into P13. I've said that 3 times. I sound like Cal the Dragon from that one clip where he talks about Swansea. Anyway. Ogween continues to lead this race. Gabor, he is falling back. There's no doubt in my mind that he's falling back. A couple of tenths is what he's dropped back by. And I don't know whether that's intentional or not. Gabor, he's very, very good at managing his pace. That's something that I've come to notice about him. He's very, very good at managing his pace. And so now he's closing just so he's definitely in the DRS. Thomas looks for the move on Quantum. Not quite. The main straight beckons, though, for the Sauber, for the BRT driver. He will have DRS. He will have Slipstream. And maybe at the end of this straight, he's going to have P3. Quantum is getting the slipstream from Gabor, though, which means that he's not able to take the position. Bobbitt's around the outside of VK. VK may be looking for a move into turn number 1, especially with Bobbitt's running wide. I think that was as a result of contact between the two. But he does not. Dettel moving up into P13. In the meantime, Josh almost coming under threat from Willow for P14. So the battles towards the end are lighting up. The battles at the top are, they're building. The tension is building because those mediums won't last too much longer. They've probably got about 5 laps in them, and Thomas is trying to use them to full effect as he sends it down the inside of Quantum, just squeezing him to the outside line. That is the perfect move. I didn't see any contact made from the Sauber or the McLaren, and he moves up into P3. So these are the 2 championship contending teams coming together on track. Thomas needs that move on Gabor as soon as he possibly can, and he's 3.5 tenths behind him. DRS will be available to him. Slipstream will be more available to him than it is to Gabor on Ogween. And yeah, Gabor knows he's just trying to break that slipstream. Quantum could be trying to threaten Thomas, but this is where Finbob can come into it. He can try to attack. As actually Quantum comes into the pits on lap 13 of this Grand Prix. Coming on to lap 15 of this Grand Prix. And the NVR driver looking for the undercut on, well, maybe his teammate, maybe Finbob, who knows. But he's in onto medium compound of tyre. Onto the medium compound of tyre. Ollie Hornby and VK also in. Was that Ollie Hornby? No, it wasn't. I lied. It was VK, and he drops down into P18. But yeah, Ogween leads this race now ahead of Gabor, with Thomas in 3rd and Finbob finding himself in 4th place. So as it stands, NVR still win the title, purely based off of the fact that Gabor is in P2, rather than Quantum being down in P17, which is obviously not the ideal position, but he's come into the pits. He would not be picking up any points as it stands, but yeah, Gabor's 30, as I said, being enough. They only need 28 to seal that title, I think. Yeah, 404 to 27, I think that is. And so I hope some mathematician in the chat do me a solid and send that through. Try and do the maths for me, Ollie Hornby. We don't have to do much maths to work out that he's got 6 seconds worth of penalties, which means that he's almost behind those 2 that came into the pits on the last lap of this Grand Prix. Quantum, or only one of them to be fair. 1 more penalty and he's behind Quantum. As Gabor now comes into the pits, the NVR drivers both triggering that pit stop, and there's 11 laps to go in this race. And both McLarens are on the mediums. He's been held up a little bit, but I think that may have just been a screen problem. He wasn't being held up, surely, for Liam Hardman, who came in for the medium compounded tyre. We'll see where Gabor is in relation to Quantum. As expected, the overcut worked, the undercut even worked for Quantum. And now I think he's going to slow down and allow Gabor to get back into that DRS, and then they can work together once again to fight their way up the field, because they know that everyone else has to pit at least one more time. Sam getting past Finbob. Well, not everyone. Allison, I don't think, will have to pit. I don't think Dettel either will. He's done a good job, to be fair. Actually, span earlier on, and then he's been able to make his way back up. Only 5 seconds behind his teammate. He's in 9th place at the moment, but he's probably the leader of the hard runners that isn't his own teammate. We'll have to wait and see how it pans out with 11 laps to go in this Grand Prix, but TTM could be on for a good result. Remember that TTM are currently fighting for P3 in the Constructors. Dettel is right behind Medal, actually, as they come down out of turn number 14 even, and down into 130R. A move is not being made, unfortunately. That could have been a gamble, but a move was not made as Ogween comes into the pits. So does Finbob, so does Agonize. So this is the lap that they really, well, this is that really matters. Finbob and Agonized just coming into their pit boxes. That is Ogween coming out of his. He's already out of it. Quantum with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 129.7, so 4 tenths faster than any previous attempt. And him and his teammates climb up to the net lead of this race, with Ogween coming out in P13, 1.2 seconds behind Gabor. Finbob, 2.4 seconds behind that. Behind that, that's harsh. Behind him. And then Agonized behind VK, who is just directly behind Finbob now. We've got Allison, who I think he's in line for a decent finish. We'll have a look at actually the gap between. So he's 2.7 seconds behind. Quantum is 18.7 seconds behind. So assuming that Allison is not going to pit again, and assuming that there's no safety car or anything like that, then Quantum will have to gain 16 seconds on Allison, which is about a second a lap. Sam makes it past Thomas. Thomas has had a huge wobble out of 130R. So maybe there was contact between the two drivers as they headed into 130R, and Sam comes into the pits. Thomas is going to stay out and inherit the lead of this race. And Allison, he could be inheriting P2 as he makes the move past Bobberts. And indeed he does. P2 for the hard runner, for the TTM driver. And he will have his sights set forward now. But yeah, as I mentioned, Quantum he will need to close down his championship rival Gabor as well. He's made it within DRS now of his own teammate with the fastest lap of the Grand Prix last time out. These two are just blasting everyone else out the water. Ogwin, he is able to stay within that DRS. That is indeed correct, but I think he's possibly going to fall out of it over the next couple of laps, just because of how well the two NVR drivers are now working together to fight their way forward. 2.3 seconds, 2.0 seconds, so 0.3 in one corner is what they've gained on Partick with worn tyres and in traffic. And the two McLarens are now bearing down on that little group of Willow, Flame and Partick, those who are running currently in P7, 8 and 9. Partick climbing up past Flame into P8. Partick damage? Looks like there is end plate damage for Partick. Interestingly enough, he's squeezing Flame to the inside line, giving Flame no space now. He's opened it up a little bit as they head into the corner, but yeah, Partick with no end plate. So maybe there was an issue between himself and Flame. Allison now goes up into the lead of the race ahead of Thomas. Bobberts just clinging on to this battle as well. Thomas will see if he comes into the pits. It will be interesting as Dettel drops behind Media. Ogween becomes the latest driver with the leader with the fastest lap of the race as Flame is almost squeezed into the pit wall. But this battling, that has allowed Quantum to pull alongside. They're swarming Partick. Poor Partick in that Haas. They've scared him off. There's one went around the outside, one threatened to go down the inside. There was absolutely no chance for him, and the grip that the medium compounded tyre has just sees Quantum move past Flame and Gabble to the outside line. They're making that look ridiculously easy, are the NVR drivers. That is unbelievable stuff. And that's what I mean when I say teamwork. They both scared those drivers into that, and then Ogwin getting past, I presume, Partick, and then Flame as well in that corner. And that was incredible stuff from the two NVR drivers. And now they've got their sights set on Willow, who was able to break that gap in the meantime. Now it's down to 0.8 seconds between Willow and Quantum. And, well, I'm sure this move will be wrapped up pretty quickly as they head down the back straight. Then it will be towards the main straight, towards the DRS straight. And I'm sure that's where the move will be shaped up. It's 2.6 seconds between the two. Bobberts gets past Thomas, by the way, for P3 with that DRS. Said DRS that I mentioned before, but Quantum, they're gonna swarm him again. Around the outside goes Quantum. Gabor forces Willow to the inside. Ogween tries to get involved as well. Finbar picks up the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, and Ollie Hornby is having issues, which is why the yellow flags are out. But Quantum P7, Gabor P8, Ogween P9, easy as you like, and they will continue their romp up the field. This is something sensational from these three drivers. As Flame, I think, had issues which allowed Finbob through. I was about to switch to Finbob anyway, because he needs to fight and fight for his right, and Bunga Racing Team's right to fight for this title. Ollie Hornby retires from the session in the pits. Absolutely fair enough, because he was not going to do much. He wasn't going to do much, really, with the remainder of this session. Quantum has closed in to Josh by 0.6. Finbob has closed into Willow by a few more. And he could join the back of the battle. You know, back of Quantum, Gabor and Ogween. Maybe be a little thorn in their side, an intentional thorn, to allow his teammate to maybe fly the flag for Bunga Racing Team. But Finbob will need a decent performance as well. So maybe he can force them into a mistake. That is if he is able to catch, which is easier said than done with how quick they've been. But he's been pretty quick, and he's been able to catch Willow, who's just picked up a 3-second time penalty. DRS will be open for the Sauber. And it should be a pretty simple move. It's also a pretty simple move as Gabor gets past Quantum, and Finbob has 2 seconds to gain on that little group, with Gabor 1.9 seconds behind Josh now. And it's closing. It is closing. And those ahead will be terrified that they will be the next ones to suffer the wrath of the McLarens and of Ogwin as well, who's following them through, and he's doing a pretty decent job as well, considering that there will be no communications as Sam completes the nice move. So does Agonized as he gets through. Both the RBs getting through on Willow now. The hardware really starting to show for particularly the Alpine as he drops to P13. He's got penalties as well, which will drop him even further, but for now, there we go. Ogwin, Gabor, and Quantum, they've almost made it into the DRS of Josh. In fact, they have made it into the DRS of Josh. And Finbob, he's closed on that group as well. So these four are just in another world in comparison to the rest of the field. 1.5 seconds is the gap between the Sauber and the Red Bull. Depending on how this final corner goes, he could be within the DRS. I don't think he will be. Because the detection zone's massively far back. And yeah, they'll be in the DRS of Josh, depending on how much fight Josh will give, which will presumably be minimal, because he knows that this isn't his fight. Finbob will be able to come back into it. Gabor gets through. Quantum will have to take the inside line into turn number 1, but it's easy as you like. And Ogwin is going to be stuck behind, unfortunately, but I'm sure he will find a gap. He almost looked at the inside line, but then he tucked back in. Took a little bit of time out of himself. Just so he didn't crash into Josh. It did look like he actually tapped on the brakes in turn number 1, on the exit of turn number 1, ruining his momentum, but meaning that he didn't go back into the back of the Ferrari. He'll be shaping up a move into probably this corner, if not turn number 13 is where he's going to look. And yeah, Ogwin is going to go for a move into this corner. It's a huge lunge that may not come off as Josh goes for the switchback. The grip is enough for the Ferrari. It's on offer there, but it means they're going to be side by side. Turn number 13 beckons, but Ogwin gets through on Josh, and he's up into P number 8. Finbob now, he's not been able to make the inroads that he would have liked. 1.5 seconds to Josh, and now he will have that ERS on. He will be pushing as hard as he can to get the DRS on lap 22 of this race. If not, then lap 23 will be the target, especially with the 2 FRT drivers behind. They will be looking to keep the pressure on. But for now, Finbob will just maintain that P10 position, which won't be enough in terms of the title. In terms of the title picture. But Quantum getting back past Gabor, P6 and P7. This teamwork has been exemplary today between these two. Ogwin as well deserves a special mention. I think I mentioned this a couple of laps ago, but they all deserve a special mention for the teamwork that they've had. That they have put together. But Quantum and Gabor, just it's adding at least a couple of tenths a lap, and that can make a huge difference. You know, if Finbob had a couple more tenths in him, he'd be able to get the DRS. He'd be able to join. He'd be able to turn it into a 4-way fight instead of a 3. And I know Josh is in there, but he's not fighting the same fight, as it were, as Quantum and Gabor and Ogwin are looking ahead, and Josh is looking to not lose DRS. 1.3 seconds is the gap between Josh and Finbob, and I think Josh has had a massive issue into that corner, which means that Finbob is in the DRS. It means that he's dropped out of the DRS, unfortunately, of Ogwin, so that is going to be his clinging onto that 6th battle are over. And Finbob, I think Finbob may have had issues as well, because Agonize is back into the DRS. This could be brewing for an interesting battle right at the end of this race, of this season, remember. And just to remind you to look at all the CSS socials, because there will be announcements in the coming days about Season 5. That's all I can tell you for now, but what I can certainly tell you is that it's worth sticking around. So give us a follow on all the other social medias. Give us a subscribe as well on the YouTube channel while you're here, because you are here, aren't you? So you may as well give us a subscribe. We're aiming for What would it be? 400 would be the next subscriber count. That would be significant. We currently have 360 something, I want to say. Oh, 378 now. That's a lot more than it was when I last looked at it. So yeah, we're edging closer to 400 subscribers. If we could get there, maybe before the start of Season 5, that would be great. But looking back at the action at hand, Josh dropped behind Finbob with that DRS down the main straight. Medal and Gabor are fighting, and there's contact. The damage is for Medal, unfortunately, as Quantum slides his way through. Gabor holding on to the outside line. And it looks like it might be 3 wide. Ogwe might stick a nose in there as they head into turn number 13. He's not going to do so. And Medal is just going to have the lead in this battle. Quantum actually is going to have the lead in this battle. But this little mini battle that's emerging between Medal, Gabor and Ogwe is going to continue to brew. It could be a move into 130R for the NVR driver. He's got the power down. He's surely got the ERS open. He's going to try and make that move into 130R as Medal runs wide. Through goes Gabor. Through goes Ogwe. And the Mercedes has nothing left to fight with. He has to drop behind. The DRS will be available for him. It will almost be available for Finbob. And the battle could be back on. That's if he's able to cling on to it. Cling on to the coattails of Medal as Ogwe dives to the inside of Gabor. Gabor running off the circuit to try to find any gap around Ogwe. He's unable to. And the Red Bull, for the first time in this race, is becoming a thorn in the side of the two McLaren drivers. They were working together so well over the last couple of laps. Over the last maybe 15 laps even. But Ogwe, he's decided to stab them in the back and start to fight. And he could get ahead of Quantum as early as the next corner. Not quite. He doesn't have the momentum. It could be turn number 13 where he looks to make that move. Or maybe he just looks to sit behind, because 2 laps left in this race. And it's all up in the air in terms of the battle for P5. This could turn quite easily into the battle for P4 as they're closing down on Dettel, but 3 seconds worth of penalties for Ogwe. He's exceeded track limits just one too many times. And P6 will become something much worse, but I'm sure he's going to continue to fight till the end now for any position that he can get as Agonize gets past Finbob around the outside to 130R. Didn't give Finbob any space. And also didn't give Finbob any space into that final corner, just making that RB car look as wide as he possibly can. As Thomas makes the move for second place. Quantum and Ogwe are side by side. Ogwe now knows that he has to draw 3 seconds on the two McLarens if he wants to seal that P5. He could use Dettel as a buffer with 2 laps to go left in this race. The title fight looks as though it's going to swing NVR's way. But you never know. You never, ever know. Because Thomas is currently picking up 30 points. Quantum and Gabor, they needed 27 points to seal the title. They are currently picking up... what would that be? That would be 27, 31 points. So it looks like they are going to do enough to seal this title. But yeah, with Finbob's second stint just hasn't been quick enough. It hasn't been quick enough to really fight this title. And unless anything dramatic happens to the two McLarens, and I'm not crossing my fingers at all when I say that, unless something dramatic happens to the two McLarens on this final lap, then it could be race over. Ogwe looking to the inside of Quantum as they head through 130R. And Dettel is now in this battle. They've now closed in on the Williams. And, well, I'm not going to say Crashgate, but if Dettel would like to do us all a favour, I'm joking. But he will lead this battle onto the final lap of this Grand Prix. But his teammate will lead the race. And he could be swarmed into turn number 1. Indeed, he is, as Quantum takes the inside. Ogwe has the outside. Ogwe's actually going to be squeezed out as Dettel has a wobble. But Quantum makes his way through. Gabor doesn't quite have that momentum. Doesn't quite have enough momentum to take him ahead of Dettel or Ogwe as well. But Ogwe will have a 3-second time penalty. Don't forget, that will be applied to his time at the end of the race. That will drop him down as it stands to... I'll try and do the maths. P10, I think. I think he would drop all the way to the back of this battle, which is a shame, considering the race he has run so far today. But there we go. It's that is essentially the course run. But Allison, he is, to be fair to him, coming into the pits under the safety car. It was very, very solid from him, and the race has just been very solid for the TTM driver, and he's going to come around the corner. The final race in the CSS season, the Japanese Grand Prix, has been won by Allison by a huge margin, 7.2 seconds ahead of Thomas. Bobbitts will come home in third, Quantum in fourth. Ogween on track will come fifth, but he'll be dropped behind Gabor, Dettel, Finbob, Sam, and, well, Agonized. He will drop further back, which means Ogween will seal P9. Medal will take P11 with Josh in P12. VK in 13th, Flame in 14th, Willow in 15th, and then Liam Hardman and Partik just a little bit further back. But for Allison, what a race. Alla win is what the race chat says. And yeah, it certainly was an Alla win. An incredible one, considering the circumstances. But he just dominated all weekend. That lap that he put in qualifying foreshadowed the rest of this weekend. And it foreshadowed how the rest of the weekend would go for the TTM driver. And I believe, I won't say anything, that will seal P3 in the championship. I said I won't say anything, but I've just said it. But yeah. Victory for Allison. Victory for NVR. And it's a pretty successful weekend all round. Sam picking up the driver of the day. And yeah, the two FRT drivers, they were pretty decent throughout. They didn't have the overall pace to win much, but to really stand out. But they still fought hard, and they gave up a good race. And yeah, deserved driver of the day, I'd say, as we go in there. But yeah, victory for Allison. A solid one all around. I keep saying that, but it was just, he just looked like the quickest driver all weekend. And so he picked that up. Thomas in second. Bobbitts taking third place. Quantum and Gabor fourth and fifth. The two NVR drivers doing a solid job, but it looked like it was going to be so much better for the start of that medium stint. Then Dettel in P6. Finbob in P7. Sam in 8th. Ogween in 9th position, and Agonized in 10th. Then Medal, Josh, VK, Flame, and Willow will finish out the points positions and also the competitive positions, as Partik and Liam Hardman came home 16th and 17th, and then Ollie Hornby and Sompika 18th and 19th, the two DNFs from this race. But that will conclude the season for the Competitive Speed Series. Season 5 is just around the corner, so as I mentioned before, keep an eye out on the socials for announcements about that. But for now, I've been Kotkas, Kotks, almost spelt it wrong, Kotks on all socials. And for now, I believe that is going to be it for the race and for the season. Until next time, it's goodbye.